I'm back. Finally in a place now where I feel like it's okay to start vlogging again, even though you can totally see that I have not really unpacked. I've been living here since end of April, and there's still a ton of boxes back here, so just don't pay attention to that over there. But anyway, I talked about this in my vlog, and it's something that came up at the end of last year where a friend of mine posted an article about Louisville being one of the most depressed cities in the United States. Something to that effect. I can't find the article again. I'm not going to go back that far and search anyway. And I don't know whether or not that's true or how they collected that data or whatever. And honestly, I don't really care. What bothered me about the article was a commenter who said that we have the highest obesity rate, and that's why Louisville is one of the most depressed cities. If people ran more, they'd be happier. I can tell you I wouldn't be happier if I ran more, because I hate running a lot. And if you see me running, if it's not at a gym, you should probably start running too, just, to give you a heads up. And it disappointed me because it feels like it's just another preconceived notion of the global community that likes to label fat people. And I'm not an advocate for obesity. Let me put that out there first. So I feel like I need to put that disclaimer out there. I am actively trying to change my body type and change my lifestyle. And I have been for years. Losing weight is hard. Maintaining weight is hard. I have yo-yoed for years, and I finally feel like I'm in a place where I'm kind of getting the grasp of that, and I'm also letting go of an ideal type of body and really understanding what health is to me and what all of that is. But that's not the point of this video, and that wasn't the point of my vlog, which will be listed down below. The point was, people assume a lot about fat people. In general, there's a lot of labels that are thrust upon us without any sort of investigation, questions, whatever, about us as people. And everybody who, just like any other human being of any other population, experience is different. Like, my experience as an overweight person is very different than my overweight relatives or overweight friends. And it's just another label that is thrust upon us to adopt, is that we're unhappy or depressed. And unhappiness and depression are two very, very different things. You could be unhappy that somebody cut you off in traffic. It doesn't depress you. Depression is something of the brain. And to be quite honest, I'm the happiest that I've ever been. And when I've experienced depression, because that's something I do experience from time to time, it lasted a long time, and it had absolutely nothing to do with being overweight at all. It was a circumstantial thing in my life that propelled me into this existential spiral of, is this it? And not, is this what I'm going to look like forever or anything like that. It was more of being really unhappy with where I was in my life. I was just approaching just over 30, and I was just not happy with the way that things were going in my life. And I was seeing friends and other people really make these huge progressions in their life, and I just wasn't there. And it was super, super depressing. And I was lighter then than I am now. And I was super active. And I'm still really active, but even then, I was going to the gym at least once a day, if not twice. I was doing kickboxing. I was weightlifting. I was doing some really disordered eating because of my depression. And my overweightness is not a cause of my depression, and it's not a byproduct of my depression either. My being overweight is a circumstance, and it has nothing to do with anything that's going on in my brain. And I'm sure there's some more science, and I know that there is because I've read about it, but whatever. I know that there's some gene or something out there. There's some reason that this is the way that I am. But it has nothing to do with my depression. And I don't feel like I need to explain that to people. And I'm not a very like outwardly emotional person, so I feel really fake if I'm like smiling all the time or something like that. As somebody in one of my friends has said, that I am high participation, low enthusiasm. And it just isn't in me to be overly expressive. And so people don't know if I'm really happy unless you really know me and how I kind of interact with the world. And to assume that I'm depressed because of my weight is really what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think of the right word. It's an injustice. It's an injustice to me as a person. And not that being depressed is wrong or having depression is wrong. It's you're not really taking the time to get to know me as an individual and my experience in this life and how I navigate the world, not only as an overweight person. I'm so much more than that, and so are other like overweight people and thin people and everything else. Like, it is just a circumstance that I have. And I don't really think that the reason Louisville is one of the most depressed cities in the country is because we have a high volume of overweight people. I think it probably has to do with unemployment and our racism problem and homelessness and our rapid high rates of domestic violence and sexual assault and so many other reasons that have nothing to do with if somebody's overweight or not or whatever. Like, and I just wish that we would take time to really get to know somebody and to understand and experience, even if you've never been put in that place before making this snap judgment that, oh, we're so depressed because we're all overweight. That it's hard to explain this to people who've never struggled with being overweight. Even though like I have some really good people in my life and coaches and stuff that really try to understand kind of how I'm approaching the gym and how I'm approaching life. And, sometimes I'm not even thinking about my weight at all. I don't need the encouragement when I go into the gym. It's not my first rodeo. It's not the first time I've been there. And I just wish we'd spend more time really getting to know people and understanding that everybody's experience on earth is so individual. And that depression and anxiety and trauma is so much more than the case you carry it in. Yeah, I think that's it. I will be back to posting once a week now that I'm back home and in my own space, so it's not weird to talk to myself, even though I think the neighbor's kids are staring at me through the window. But, it's all right. Thanks.